Welcome. Let's call this meeting to order. Today is June 20th, 2017. This is our public board meeting. As a reminder, please silence your cell phones. Thank you. And as we go down the agenda tonight, we're going to begin our meeting with an invocation by Mr. Tim Weissire. He's a school board member from District 3. We will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Robert Curran, Chief Officer for Technology, will lead us in that. Our mission statement will be read to us by Ms. Megan Gold. She is our principal, Parkway Middle School. Translation services will be provided by Belinda Reyes and her staff, Multicultural Department. She is the Executive Director. At this time, I would please invite everyone to stand up, and Mr. Weissire.
Will you join me in prayer? God, we come before you tonight. We're grateful for your love, your mercy, and the grace you provide for each one of us. We're grateful for this opportunity we have to gather together to deliberate the important matters of this school district. We ask for your divine wisdom and discernment as we discuss the matters that are before us. We pray that you continue to unify this board and leadership team that will continue to serve the best interest of our community. We ask that as our teachers and our staff take this summer to rest and to rejuvenate and to reflect upon the great work they do, that they find peace and comfort in knowing that they're serving a greater cause and a greater purpose in serving our students. We pray that all things that we do will ultimately bring honor and glory to you, and we greatly thank you for the opportunity we have to lead and serve and to live in this great nation. Might we continue to be set apart as a nation that honors and serves you in thought, in word, and in action. It's in Christ's name that I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening.
Good evening. Osceola's mission statement is inspiring all learners to reach their highest potential as responsible, productive citizens.
Thank you. Translation services.
My name is Belinda Reyes, and I'm glad to provide
Thank you. Board, this is our moment to give a positive comment. I believe Mr. Wheeler does have positive comments.
I'll be brief. I just wanted to share with the board, there was a good kid, good student, Celebration High School, who was not able to fit physics of all classes into his junior schedule last year, and the mom contacted me because they toured some schools, and for the schools this young man wants to, it's colleges. This young man wanted to attend physics, was imperatively important, and I got a hold of Mr. Gilbert and got Mr. Gilbert, the new principal at Celebration High School, and the mom together, and I found out today from the mom and from Mr. Gilbert that it came to a happy conclusion, so I just want to give kudos to Mr. Gilbert for working out something that I didn't have to do on top of that, but more importantly, helping a really good kid. So that's all I've got right now, Mr. Chairman.
Well said. Dr. Pace?
Yes, Chairman and members of the board and community, I just wanted to say if you haven't had an opportunity to pick up a copy of Framed by James Ponti, our summer reading book, it is definitely a worthy read for both young people as well as adults. It's a little bit of a mystery, a little bit of a detective story, but as you might have seen in our social media pages, Margaret, I believe, is my favorite character. She is smart, she is athletic, and she is kind. She really takes a new student in their community under her wing and welcomes him and helps him to be a part of things, and they end up having some pretty cool adventures together. So I encourage everybody to participate in our summer reading with Framed by James Ponti.
Good. Thank you, Dr. Pace. All right, so we're up to the presentation portion of our agenda. Our first presentation will be presented by Scott Clark, recognition of the winners of the 2017 Annual Battle of the Books. Good afternoon, Mr. Clark.
Good afternoon. Good evening. Welcome, everyone. On top of that Framed conversation you heard, we had our first night at the Books A Million, and the author was there, We had kids that got there, did they say it was about an hour to 45 minutes before the author and all of us got there, sitting, waiting to get their book signed by the author. So the book Framed is a very popular book amongst our students. And that goes along with our Sunshine State Reader books. And tonight what we're going to do is we're going to recognize the schools. The Battle of Books competition is an annual academic competition sponsored by the Osceola County School Librarians Association. There were student teams from each school that competed by answering questions about the 15 Sunshine State Young Reader books and the Florida teens read novels. The 2017 Battle of the Books winners, we have them from elementary all the way through middle and then high school. And I'm going to give you the top 3 places in each area and recognize their coaches that are here tonight. It's summer, so we didn't get too many of the students to come, but we're going to go ahead and recognize them. 3rd place for elementary was Narcoossee Elementary School. 2nd place for elementary was Parton Settlement Elementary School. And I'm going to have the winning coach from Eastlake Elementary School to come forward, and we'll recognize Jen Glasheen, the media specialist, and her team for the winning. All right, next is middle school, so you can stay right here with us, yeah. Middle school, 3rd place was Belago Academy. 2nd place was Narcoossee Middle School. And our winner, and their coaches here as well, was Neptune Middle School, and the coaches were Desiree Center, media specialist, and Diana Triplett, the literacy coach. Now as we move to high school, this got exciting. A lot of these competitions came down to tiebreakers. And when they came down to tiebreakers, we would ask a question, and sometimes they would have to write the answer down. And it even came to the fact that they had to spell it exactly correct, and it may be a name. And in high school, we had this kind of come up at the end. But our 3rd place team, and this was exciting to hear, and you'll love hearing this, was New Beginnings. They had a great performance of their students. 2nd place was Harmony High School.
All right.
And then our winning team this year was from Celebration High School, Coach Brenda Allen. So come on back. And she brought her team with her as a picture on there. On her iPad.
Brenda, I want to see the picture.
So,
See who I know.
very good. Ladies, we are so proud of you and your teams and the effort and the work that you did. It shows that it was quite the purpose. So,
Well, so's been-
good job. Then next on our agenda is to recognize the Media Specialist of the Year. Yeah, catch up. Good. Yeah, you're good. Michelle takes care of our social media. I know we all have one of those, so that's good. Our Media Specialist of the Year, Osceola County School Librarians Association, is pleased to announce the 2017 Media Specialist of the Year award winners. And I'm going to ask Michelle Jarrett to come up with the prizes. Yeah, you got a special gift for them. And I'll announce our first one is our Elementary Media Specialist of the Year. This person's been teaching in Osceola schools since 1986. She's the proud mother of 5 beautiful children. Over the last 30 years, she's been actively developing her career professionally and demonstrating her love of lifelong learning. In 2002, this person became a national board certified teacher. December of 2013, obtained her master's in educational leadership from the University of Central Florida. She is currently the president of the Osceola County School Librarians Association and a member of the Florida Association of Media and Education. She sees the Media Center as the largest classroom in the school. Students, teachers, and parents all actively benefit from the Media Center and its many programs. She believes that building relationships is one of the most important parts of being an effective media specialist. Her goal is to understand the wants and needs of the students, teachers, and parents. She treats all stakeholders as customers, offering them the best customer service possible, and tries to not to ever let them go away empty-handed. And our elementary winner for this year is Miss Cheryl Davis of Narcoossee Elementary School. Very good. Stay right. Next, our secondary media specialist of the year. This person has been the media specialist at Harmony High School for 13 years. During that time, she earned her master's degree in library and information science at the University of South Florida. Twice participated in the statewide committee to select the Florida Teens Read Novel Award list, served as president and secretary of the Osceola County School Library Association, has been co-chair of the Osceola District Battle of the Books for many years, and presented several times at the Florida Association for Media and Education Annual Conference. She's a graduate of St. Cloud High School. She dedicates her time volunteering for youth in Osceola County by serving as both the color guard sponsor at Harmony High School and as a teen small group leader at the First Baptist Church of St. Cloud. The educator media specialists embody the core values of service, professionalism, integrity, and passion in the school library media program. We are proud of their achievements. And the winner for secondary from Harmony High School is Maggie Josephine.
Congratulations to both of you.
My bad. Appointments and transfer. Dr.
Yes,
Pace?
sir. Chairman Soto and members of the board, I am pleased to bring forward what I hope will be our final principal recommendation for the upcoming school year. If I could ask Mr. Santiago to come to the podium, please. As you know, in recent weeks, Mr. Ramos, the principal at Discovery Middle, has taken a position at PM Wells with Four Corners Charter, and we recently advertised and interviewed for that middle school principalship, and I am very pleased to recommend Mr. Henry Santiago for your consideration, board.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Wheeler, second by Mr. Weishire.
Discussion.
Throughout his career, Mr. Santiago has held the following positions: teacher at Pleasant Hill Elementary School in Celebration K-8, Learning Resource Specialist at Celebration K-8, Assistant Principal at Westside K-8, and Assistant Principal at Parkway Middle. He received his bachelor's degree in elementary education from the University of Central Florida and a master's degree in educational leadership from Stetson University. And we are pleased, Henry, to welcome you to our leadership team.
Board, we have a motion to approve on the floor, but discussion by Mr. Wheeler.
I have been fortunate. I've known Henry for a number of years. From his time at Celebration K-8. Henry, I'm thrilled to see you. Henry will do a great job with us. Are you excited?
I'm super excited.
I know you're
sir.
excited. I talked to you. I know. So we are thrilled. And so, Henry, we expect big things out of you, though.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Since we have no further discussion, Board, then we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Vote passes 4-0. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And introduce who's here with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I have my parents who have instilled a great work ethic and what it means to be a man of my word, and I'm so appreciative of their support. I have my beautiful wife who, her smile when I told her the news was probably the best moment out of the whole experience. So I love you with all my heart, and I thank you. You can't imagine how thankful I am to have you in my life.
You can't be a DJ anymore, though.
That's correct, sir. I also want to take a moment to just thank some people that have inspired me and mentored me. Miss Renee Clayton, who has pushed me from the time of being a teacher at Pleasant Hill to Miss Nadia Winston, giving me my first opportunity to be an assistant principal. Miss Megan Gould, just thank you. You're going to make me cry, and I don't want to cry. But she allowed me to grow and really develop as a leader. We have some other people here. Amy Collins has been a great sidekick for this school year, so thank you, Miss Amy Collins. And, I'm just thankful to God for the opportunity to be at Discovery and to serve the community of Poinciana and board and Dr. Pace and team. I just look forward and excited about the opportunity and won't let you down. All right, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Henry, before you sit down, I'd like you at some point to get to know Mr. Weishire, Mr. Weissire is your board member out there, and he's somebody who wants to get very involved. So I would call him and get him involved. Mr. Weissire likes saying yes also.
It's all true. It's all true.
All right. Anything further?
No, sir.
Okay, so next is public comment. Boy, I didn't get any yellow sheets today. All right. So part of what we do in our public meetings is to afford an opportunity for the public to make their comments to the board and put them on the record. In order to do so, we ask is that the person fills out a little yellow form, and we call that name. I don't have any yellow forms before me, so unless anyone wants an opportunity, I'm going to go ahead and close that portion of the meeting. All right, so we'll go ahead. We have no public comments for today's meeting. And next up is the agenda modification. I believe we have a blue sheet item.
Yes, sir.
By the superintendent under, okay. All right, so we have this. And
Item W, sir.
item W,
It reflects the assistant principal vacancies that have happened just since we published the agenda.
very well, and I see it is included at least in my agenda. The other thing is a number 18, and we're pulling number 18, approved state-funded agreement. Besides that, are there any other modifications, Mr. Wheeler?
No, sir.
I have none. Mr. Thacker? All right. Mr. Weissire?
No, sir, I'm good.
All right. Superintendent, besides those?
No, sir.
All right. So do we have a motion on these
Motion,
modifications and the consent agenda?
motion to approve the agenda with the modifications as submitted.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion to approve the modified agenda and the consent agenda by Mr. Wheeler, second by Mr. Weissire. Board, is there any discussion? Hearing that there's no discussion, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, vote passes 4-0.
To go a lot faster without Mr. Booth here.
Mr. Thacker, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Next up is the information agenda items. There's a few things there on board and public that you can go ahead and refer to on revisions to rules and advisory board, information on our meeting. We also have a update from Mr. Ken DeBoard under Center for Employee Health. Mr. DeBoard, welcome. Good evening.
Good evening. You have in your packet the normal the bar graph that we present to you each month. This is through as of the end of April. Continuing to see increased utilization of the Center for Employee Health. We are also in the last column over on the far right-hand side, as was mentioned earlier in the workshop. We're at right at just under $740,000 in savings to the employees that are and their family members that have used the Center for Employee Health so far since its opening in April of last year. Also part of that packet is the iPad survey answer distribution. Still having some issues with some wait times that we're seeing. Just a reminder, those, or to, just bring that to your attention, the items under wait times that are identified as either ones or twos or threes are being contacted. Those individuals are actually being contacted by the manager of the center and having a conversation with those folks. Sometimes she'll actually try to catch them before they actually leave the center. If she isn't able to do that, she will contact them by phone and try to reach out to them and find out what happened. So the other piece that's in there is the monthly expenditure report. If you look at the active and retiree, the total plan costs for 2016-17, as Dr. Pace mentioned earlier, the first quarter we were doing pretty well. Second quarter we took a pretty hard hit. April being the first month of the third quarter, we saw a slight decrease. We're still a little bit over, but in a little better place than the 113% loss ratio for the month of March, but down to 102. So that was an improvement in that. We're still on track at 96% year to date, but we are continuing to monitor those expenditures, watching closely the high dollar claims that we are receiving. Hopefully that, that's part of the plan with the Center for Employee Health, that we can hopefully slow or stop some of these high dollar claims that we are currently experiencing, but in the future that those would be things that we could identify as things that could be treated early and prevent some of the bad things that are happening to our employees in the future. So, any other?
Chairman, if I may, I just would like to again call attention to the board in terms of our health clinic survey. We are still having a significant issue with no-shows. If you look in the month of April, there were 358 no-shows. So I think that's something that, as a board and as a group, we're going to continue to have to discuss. I know that we're following up, we're calling, those types of things, but that prevents people who want to get into the clinic from getting into the clinic when people have an appointment and just don't bother to show up or call.
I thought that we were already lowered that issue.
Yeah, well, and that's what I was going to say is my understanding, I know I commented on this at the last time it came up, is I wanted to take a little bit of a slow approach with implementing any type of penalty for that. However, if this is an issue and we need to deal with it, then I'm perfectly fine and comfortable with dealing with it at the same time. There's a significant amount of investment being made, and there's also a loss being realized, as you pointed out, by others that may be in need of and seeking no additional cost health care. So at this point, I'm on board. If it's a problem and we've got to deal with it, let's deal with it.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Mr. Wheeler?
I will, I brought it up last time. I think that I'm not a fan of free. When you give something away for free, there's less of a value. I still don't think a $5 copay is onerous, and if people are making a $5 copay, I think they're more likely to show up for it. You will get some no-shows, but I don't think it's going to be that large, and I think that if there's a $5 copay, they don't show up. They show up next time. It's the $5 from last time and the $5 for this time. It's $10. I mean, I'm not trying to break the bank, but I think there has to be a value for people. And when you give something away for free, people just don't value it. I don't care what it is.
All right, Mr. Thacker.
Just did it to what Jay said, that's what I was going to say.
If I could add just briefly, I have to just ask a few questions. So I make an appointment, all right? It's going to be in July 8th, okay?
Right.
And so do I get like some kind of like reminder? Somebody going to call me like on the 6th or something? Hey, or the 5th, you got this appointment coming, right?
They are trying to do that. At this time, they are, yes. And we are also, they're actually moving to a new electronic medical records system that they will actually be able, with the members' permission, be able to start texting people, similar to what my dentist office does and probably several of your...
Would that also give the opportunity for that person to say, oh, well, you know what, something came up.
Yes.
Let me just go ahead.
Yeah, it gives you the option to either to accept or verify that you're coming, or that you need to cancel and reschedule. Usually that's the way that usually...
This data that we've been presented, that
has not. Well, making phone calls, they are making phone calls, but the text messaging hasn't. That will start, their new system comes in play August 1st, I believe, so it'll be after that we can start texting people.
It seems like a combination. Obviously, it seems like there needs to be maybe a couple of these things put together, and you're already, like, we just as your response, you're already making a plan to address this.
We're actually working right now on a mailer that will go home to everybody in the district's home address. That'll kind of talk about some of these things, and one of the things is obviously that...
And I'm almost done, Mr. Whiteside.
I know, you're fine.
And so there's a situation where, with all of these management systems in place, appointment management, we could still have no-shows. And for those, a penalty for copay may be indicated. Are we able to do that? Like, is there a contractual thing that prevents us, or is this something that we can easily implement?
I'd have to do some research on that.
It is something that we would take to the insurance committee for discussion, but I need a direction from the board at this point in time in terms of at least starting to have those conversations, because I think we all agree it's to everybody's benefit to reduce the no-shows. So we'll be working with the insurance committee on the best way to do that.
Is that a lengthy process that we should be starting with right away?
Doesn't have to be, but we will start that conversation right away.
Very well. Thank you.
I'm good to start it. 15 to 20 a day is ridiculous. I don't know how any business can run it up.
Chairman, I would submit to Mr. Wheeler, maybe even Mr. Thacker's point, adding a $5 or whatever the dollar amount copay, in my opinion, is not the right direction, but instead creating a penalty for those that aren't showing up is the right direction.
Right.
I'm not looking to add any additional cost for those that are utilizing the benefit that we've created and are honoring what their appointment is. I'm not looking to create additional costs for any of them. I am okay, though, with the idea of moving forward with looking at what a penalty might look like if you don't honor your appointment. So just to be clear, I think we have a little bit of a different opinion, but that's a direction I'd like us to go in.
I think, Mr. Weiser, you actually clarified what I think the board, but I'll just wait.
Okay, good.
And I kind of misspoke. Now that I'm listening to my own words, I can see why. But that's exactly the direction that we want to give to the superintendent, am I correct?
Yeah,
All right.
I'm fine with
I don't
the-
have Mr. Weider, but I believe that's what.
We're waiting for you.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Just brief.
Yeah, we were just having a quick conversation on clarification. I was stating that charging a copay for using the service is not something I'm in favor of at this point in time, but charging a penalty for not showing up, I am in favor of. And so I guess I'm just looking for clarification if we're on the same page of the direction we're going to go.
Mine is a $5 copay, period, and then if you don't show up but you have a second appointment, you owe the $5 from the last time and the $5 for this one. I'm not a fan of free. I don't think if you give anything for free, people don't value it.
I don't disagree with the last comment, although I've never used, even though others may, I've never used the word free because none of this is free. Everything we do is paid for by the taxpayers.
Perception by the
I
user is
understand.
it's free.
Right, I understand that. I'm not, Chairman, I'm not in favor of going forward with having a copay for using the wellness center.
Yeah, but
Miss-
we're
Miss-
good to
yeah.
go with some
Mr.
direction
Weeder,
on
would we-
on no-show fee.
Yes, sir.
So, board,
That was
what
what I was.
thank you. Save us, Dr.
I
Pace.
just would need to remind the board that it was negotiated as a benefit to have no co-payments, unless I misunderstood. You know, the no-show piece, I think, could be handled separately with discussion with the insurance committee, but to change the copay would definitely have to be negotiated.
Yeah.
I think you have consensus, that's all.
Right, and just to, if you allow me, Mr. Weiser, I think that you also mean, you know, when we have these systems in place and they're the no-show, because I think these systems are like fair opportunity, so that if, once we implement it, we get callbacks, people confirm it, they still don't show up, then that's what we're looking at in terms of at least a penalty, because we're going to have people, staff just sitting there waiting for nobody to show up and other people missing out.
What I would say is I'm not necessarily willing to wait for these processes to be put in place. If they happen to align, that's fine. But at the same time, we're talking about adults. And if I make an appointment and I don't honor that appointment, I mean, Karen may say otherwise because she keeps my schedule, but I don't need 15 text reminders to be there or a postcard mailed to my house or whatever. So if all this happens to line up, great. But I'm not willing to wait at this point. To Mr. Thacker's point, you know, 15 or 20 or 10 to 15, whatever the number he said was per day, is costing other employees the opportunity to have access to the benefit we've created for them.
And that's one every half hour,
So,
basically.
board, then we're in agreement that the superintendent and her staff are going to go ahead and explore it. Meanwhile, Mr. DeBoer, just keep doing the work that you're doing. It's just part of what healthcare management, it is part of what we do. As we have customers, we follow up with them, so I think that everything is going to come together quite nice.
Thank you for the direction, board.
Yes, thank you.
And by the clinic does a good job. I mean, I think that, you know, I've had nothing but, my family's had positive experiences there. I have, but at the same time, it's a benefit, Mr. Weishauer, to your point, but it's a liability if people are scheduling and not showing up.
Yeah, all right. All right, so that concludes the information agenda items. Next up is the regular agenda.
I move for approval of items 7A and B.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Thacker to approve A and B, a second by Mr. Wheeler. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, vote passes 4-0.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve item, Roman numeral 8, item C as submitted.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Wheeler to approve item C, second by Mr. Thacker.
Yes.
Any discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Hearing none, vote passes 4-0.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion on letter D to postpone that item until our August 1st meeting.
Second.
All right, so there's a motion to postpone item D by Mr. Weishauer, second by Mr. Wheeler.
Discussion.
To postpone, with discussion, to postpone item D until August 1st school board meeting. Mr. Wheeler, you have the floor.
I see the names here, and I've got to admit, I've never been a fan of the geographic name, Central Avenue, Thacker Avenue, et cetera. I mean, I got no problem with George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Neil Armstrong. I mean, great Americans. I just want to share that. I mean, we got one school in this county named after someone, and it's Ross Jeffries. And that's not a knock on it. I understand that, but there's a lot of great Americans that can inspire, and I just think that that's far more inspirational than the name of the geography where it resides. So I just want to share that with the board.
All right. Board, any other discussion? All right, just for the record, we will be bringing this up under a continuing business on our July 18th meeting. Give us plenty of information. I believe also that staff will continue to solicit input, including with news media and things, that nature, in order to get more interest into this process. All right, so with that said, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Vote passes 4-0.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion under Roman numeral 10 to approve items E through L as submitted.
Second.
Discussion.
All right. So we have a motion to approve items E through L, second by Mr. Thacker, discussion by Mr. Weishauer.
Mr. Wheeler, I would ask for you to amend your motion for letter E for it to be position levels 12 through 14 as opposed to position level 14.
I will be happy to accept that amendment to my motion if Mr. Thacker will accept that.
That's okay.
Okay.
All right. So what we have instead is a motion to,
Amend
wait a second.
original motion.
All right.
Or item, was it item?
So it'd be the approval of letters
just-
E through L with letter
Let's-
E being
May I make-
amended.
May I make a suggestion?
You can do whatever
Let's
you
just
desire.
pull E out.
Let's pull it out.
Okay, I'll,
Okay.
I'll withdraw my motion, and Mr. Thacker, will you withdraw your second?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve items F through L as submitted.
And I'll second that.
All right, there's a motion to approve F through L by Mr. Wheeler, as submitted, second by Mr. Thacker. Any discussion on items F through L? Hearing none. Board will take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Hearing none, vote passes 4-0. On items E.
I'll make a motion to approve letter E with the position levels being 12 through 14 as opposed to position level 12 as presented.
Second.
Okay, discussion
Uh,
by both of us, so,
Yeah.
Mr. Thacker, you go.
I guess my question is, I'm not sure I totally understand what it means to be a position of 3 levels as opposed to 1.
Well, why don't we just state first what is it that is presented, and then we'll discuss the reasons for the amendment.
Sure. I'd like to see the position, and we have others throughout the district that are similar to this, where there's a position range, and there's opportunity for progression to continue to happen within that position and within those ranges. I think this position provides an opportunity for that with making that amendment. how that's represented. It basically would change the salary scale to be a broader salary scale, to start at a lower level and still have the maximal level as presented in the agenda item.
All right, so as it stands right now, it just has one level, correct?
Yes.
All right. And is this, for these kind of, maybe board, maybe the staff, maybe, I need administration to help me out here. Dr. Pace, what is the reason for this item to be presented the way it was, the job description with position 14 as stated?
That was, position 14 placed this position at one level above the other Secretary 4s, which is the next level below. A range allows someone to start, for example, at a level 12 and through position upgrades, in other words, through professional development, high evaluations, they can move up through the range. For example, I believe the Secretary 4 now is like an 11 to 13 or something like that, or?
That's actually the deputy superintendent.
Okay, deputy superintendent.
Yep.
Thank you, Tammy.
The Secretary 4 is a pay range 10A to 10C.
Say that again, Terry.
The Secretary 4 is a 10A to 10C pay grades.
What is that in dollars?
Well, it's less. I
Less
don't
than
have the
what?
pay schedule. It's less than 14.
But that's
I
not
could look it up
dollars.
real quick. Just take a second.
The non-bargaining secretarial structure is leveled so that you have, for example, a Secretary 3, Secretary 4, the secretary that reports to the deputy superintendents, and then currently there's an administrative assistant to the superintendent. In the past, the person who has served the needs of the board has been at the Secretary 4 level, as opposed to at either the deputy superintendent or at a different level. And the idea behind proposing a new job description is that as we have changed the role of the board in governance and the work of the district, for example, having your own office space, more scheduling of your appointments, handling of your correspondence, those types of things, it seemed to be appropriate, and it certainly is done in other districts, where there is an administrative assistant position specific to the board's role, who manages the meetings, manages the meeting minutes, but also then handles the other functions of the board, such as scheduling, correspondence, those types of things.
Thank you.
So that was the idea behind changing the job description. It really is the board's pleasure as to whether or not we start it with a range as a 12 to a 14 and give whomever applies and is chosen for that position the opportunity to grow through position upgrades, through professional development and those types of things, or we set it at the level above the deputy superintendent position, secretary position.
All right, so let me ask a question. When you review this job description, does it justify a level 14 based on the description and the duties and the responsibilities, the accountability level, the amount of? Okay, I'll ask you as well, Mr. Wheeler, but I just want the response. I just want the response from the HR director here. So does it fit?
In the research that we've done for this job description, it does.
It fits as a 14?
It does.
If it's a 14?
Well, if we're looking at placing it, the pay grade above the deputy superintendent's secretary.
Okay, without any, I don't want you to
In a
compare it with
hierarchy.
anything. Does it justify the description, the amount of responsibility, the amount of thinking, all the efforts that needs to go into that position?
From what I understand in that position, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I do have the pay information, Mr. Wheeler, that you asked about. For the Secretary 4, their entry level would be 32,619. But to move this position to a pay level 12 through 14 is what Mr. Weisshire is requesting. The starting salary would be 37,609 versus the pay level 14, which is 45,175. And also, with your amendment, we would need to account for how we're going to get through the pay level. So if the person went from pay level 12 to 13, and I would recommend that we do the same thing that is accounted for in the facilities records clerk, where they would have the 1 year of experience plus 20 in-service hours in the area of their work, so.
Sure.
that's how we really look at all of our job descriptions now within the past year.
So let me understand then. All right. Is there any particular reason why this wasn't presented initially as a 12 through 14 and it's a 14?
Well, basically, we really are trying to level off our job descriptions to avoid having to do the level upgrades.
Correct.
But we still have that in the district, so there's not a problem to do that if the board wishes to do that.
But that's not favorable.
It's just easier. We have a line item that we put in the budget every year to cover level upgrades, and it's just additional paperwork and money that we have to account for every year.
Right. And then a particular level, like level 14, there's still a range of salary within that level, correct?
It's according to the experience. So it's just, they come in at level 14, and then each year, if the board approves raises, then they get a next step.
In the category,
Is it solely based on experience and not performance?
For support staff, yes, all of our support staff positions. Well, and they get their step every year. Yep, for support staff.
I think performance should matter too. not
Well,
just-
the level upgrades, if you did have the pay level 12 through 14, then that's the performance where you would have to make a recommendation to move that person to the next pay level. But then after that, it's whatever the board decides on the percentage raise, that's what the person would get.
Dr. Pace, in my opinion, everybody in this district should get that their compensation in some way should be tied to performance, not just longevity.
That would have to be negotiated.
Performance.
But not for this position, though, it's non-bargaining.
Negotiated. That's funny.
all right, I still have some more inquiry, but I'll yield to Mr. Thacker.
Back to this job description. Now that I've learned a little bit more, if, I've not questioned, we just approved 5 other changes and stuff. I mean, if HR says it's a level 14, I'm fine with it being a level 14, and, I mean, the job's the job. If that's the way you evaluate it, I'm fine with it. So, as it is. And I can't stand it, I agree with Jay, jobs ought to be performance, and if that needs to be negotiated, it ought to be negotiated. I don't know why anything's
Yeah,
not performance.
and here's, and I just wanted to finish up, and I wanted it before.
Yeah, no.
Here's the thing, I mean, I read this job description, I read this item, and, I don't even, rather than just taking if anybody opposed, we could have just voted it down instead of making an amendment. Because I'd rather just take a vote on it as it's presented. It has a salary range in it that I see. It makes sense. I just inquired from our human resource director that it definitely merits this step, this level or whatever it's called, with the assigned duties and responsibilities and accountabilities. I also hear that making it with these different levels is actually not favorable to how they want to go ahead and compensate in these positions or move people along. So I'm going to go ahead and vote no on this amendment, and I hope that we have an opportunity to vote on the original proposal that was submitted. Mr. Weissier.
Thank you. Board, and I appreciate the conversation on this. This is part of our job, and I appreciate always getting to have these type of conversations with you guys, so thank you. I would point out, though, that the other job descriptions that we approved tonight do also have position levels in them as well. So if you're not supporting my motion solely because of position levels, you just supported other positions that do have position levels in there. If it's for other reasons, I respect that, but just to make sure I draw that distinction.
Mine was because this was the recommendation HR made, and I didn't question the other recommendation.
I understand.
Yeah, and I didn't, and by the way, because you
understand.
mentioned that, I had to hear from them about whether or not that's favorable or not. I really couldn't have formed my own opinion without the expertise. So that's why, the way that this was pooled and everything kind of just settled things that way. But what I'm concerned with, if you want to know, my primary is whether or not the level of responsibility, accountability, the creative input from the individual, how they're being held professionally, as it is stated in this job description, does it merit that position? I heard that it does. I think it does from my own reading on it. So any amendment to it, I'm going to disagree. That's really what it is.
And I respect that.
Okay? But seeing that we do have a motion for an amended on the floor, I think that we need to go through with the vote for it. I already stated how I'm going to vote. So, any further discussion, board? Mr. Wheeler? None? Ms. Thacker? No. All right, so then we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Opposed? No?
Aye, no.
Okay.
So it's, did
So
not
motion-
pass.
so
I'll
the-
make a motion, we approve it as a level 14 as submitted by HR.
So the,
Second.
let me just clarify the record. It was 2-2 on the previous one, thus it did not pass. Mr. Thacker now makes a motion to approve it as submitted. Is there a second?
I second, that's correct.
Second by Mr. Wheeler. Any discussion? Because we do have an opportunity again. Hearing none. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, vote passes 3-1. All right. On the rest of the,
I've got to say, in this instance, for the support for the board, it's well worth it.
thank you, Mr. Wheeler. Do you have another motion, Mr. Wheeler?
We're
We're
business.
in M.
M.
Yes.
Business and Finance, okay, under Roman numeral 11, I'll make a motion to approve items M through S as submitted.
Second.
All right, there's a motion to approve items M through S by Mr. Wheeler, second by Mr. Weissier. Board, any discussion?
Discussion.
Mr. Wheeler?
Mr. Mock, I see you sitting out there, and this is similar to what you did at Osceola High School. Clancy and Thays did an exceptionally good job rebuilding, doing a comprehensive rebuild on Osceola High School while the campus was occupied. I expect it to go as smoothly or smoother this time on this campus, because these are little kids. These aren't big kids. So that's the only comment I want to, and Clanton Day has been a great partner with the district and with the community. We appreciate that. But again, these are babies at this school. So just keep that in mind.
All right, any further discussion? Good words by Mr. Wheeler. All right, so we'll vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, vote passes 4-0.
Make a motion to approve item T under item 12.
Second.
All right, so motion by Mr. Thacker to approve items T, second by Mr. Wheeler. Board, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 4-0.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve under Roman numeral 13, item U as submitted.
Second.
Motion to approve by Mr. Wheeler, item U, second by Mr. Weissier. Any discussion, board? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Vote none. Hearing none, vote passes 4-0.
Make a motion to approve item U under item 13.
And you want to know, you meant V, we just did V.
V under 14.
I'm sorry, V under 14.
We'll keep you straight, Clarence.
Thank you. I need help.
A motion to
I was
approve.
reading the right one, I just can't tell my V.
Approved by Mr.
my V's
Thacker,
from my
item
U's.
V. A second by Mr. Weissier. Any discussion, board? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Hearing, okay, then opposed, no. Hearing none, vote passes 4-0.
Mr. Chairman, under Roman numeral 15, I'll make a motion to approve items W and X as submitted.
Second.
Okay. Motion to approve W and X by Mr. Wheeler and second by Mr. Weissier.
Discussion.
Board, any discussion by Mr. Wheeler? Do you have the floor?
Dr. Pace, July 18th, can we expect the AP opening positions to be filled?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That's all I've got.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, vote passes 4-0. Attorney's report, legal issues.
No reports.
None. Superintendent's update.
Looking forward to our Administrator Academy, which starts tomorrow and continues on into Thursday. Tomorrow, we'll be working with our school-based leadership teams, and then Thursday, we'll have all of the district leaders there for some rich professional learning, and as well as looking forward to the Administrator's Steak Dinner tomorrow night.
Thank you, Dr. Pace. All right. So, any unfinished business, board?
I've got one, yeah, I've got something I want to bring up. It came up at the workshop, and I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but about naming a high school. I just feel compelled to ask. Well, we're sitting here, we don't get a chance to really have this conversation unless we want to break the law.
And it's fun.
I'm just kidding.
We told you it will not be Wheeler High, no matter how many
Or
times you bring it up. It's not going to be Wheeler.
Weissier, but no,
And let me tell you, this should be fun. This should not be anything that's contentious. I mean, we're naming a high school.
Mr. Chairman, you asked me if I had something to bring up.
Yes, Mr.
Okay,
Wheeler.
thank you. So I guess the question and we can ask Ricky when he's at a meeting. But the question I've got for the three of you is, we got East Lake High School, Boggy Creek High School, and Toho High School, okay? And, I mean, honestly, do those names excite you more than Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, Ronald Reagan, Neil Armstrong? I mean, do those names excite you? Does Boggy Creek High School excite you more than George Washington? I mean, really? I feel compelled to ask this question.
And Mr. Wheeler, I guess I've been the most vocal about this so far, but that doesn't mean that we all don't have our very, very real reasons, not just personal, but as our mandate and our oath to represent the people in this community. I agree. I agree. I just think that once you set a course in a certain way, a certain vision, and you want to be the culture changer, towards the 21st century, and we're looking at technology, preparing children that are the digital generation, new ways of learning, new techniques. Just defaulting should be just when you need to default. There's always a time that you need to default. I just don't know whether it is today, and that's where the vote, and that's why I wanted it pulled. But it may end up that way. I hope it doesn't, Mr. Wheeler, because I agree with you. Look, I was just speaking with someone about, we have this street called John Young, and well, if you're new to Central Florida, and they didn't know what it. I had to discuss it with my children and look and say, hey, I actually looked them up before that. But my children asked me, I said, whoa, let me give you a little bit of history lesson about who John Young was, why a street deserves his name. By the way, very appropriate, at least a street, you know what I mean? No, Mr. Wheeler, I think that we shouldn't lose this opportunity, but it's really up to the community to have that dialogue with us. Help us do this. We'll do this decision on our own.
Hey,
if they don't want to.
I guess I'm asking Mr. Weiser and Mr. Thacker. I mean, seriously. I mean, what?
I convinced them.
I'm not trying to convince. I mean, I'm asking a question. I don't want to convince anybody. But seriously, does it excite you more, or inspire more, for a Toho, Boggy Creek, or East Lake than it would Neil Armstrong, or Thomas Jefferson, or Benjamin Franklin High School? I mean, seriously. And if it does, then okay. But I feel compelled to ask that question.
All right, so we go with Clarence. You go first.
Remember how many discussions we have, and you say, I just want to know how it impacts children's performance? Correct. This one kind of falls in that to me.
Okay,
I'm not losing sleep on it.
And that's a good point. So the question then goes, Clarence, that's a great point. So then I guess the question is, I don't know the name would inspire performance or not. But I've got to believe that George Washington has got a better chance to inspire a student than Boggy Creek. And now that's just my opinion. I'm not that, that's what I see.
A lot of people can find Boggy Creek High School.
A lot of people know Washington State and Washington, D.C. too, Clarence.
No, that's a good point. Is that okay? You could
This is
rejoin.
not a huge.
You could always rejoin.
And I'm not trying to make it, but we don't get a chance to have this conversation.
I wasn't with you on names until you mentioned Ronald Reagan, and then all of a sudden I got excited. No, I'll be honest. I'm not in favor of naming the school after a person, historical or not. I know our policy says living isn't an option. For a number of reasons, though, that I'm not. But finding something that is inspirational beyond the geography, I'm very open to that exercise. Okay. And I'm open to the dialogue. I don't know where I'll land on it, to be honest with you. But even if you picked my top 5 U.S. presidents and put them on the list, I'd probably say no, just because as much as I may like those presidents, there may be just as many people who don't like them, and I'd rather not have anything that we're doing with one of our schools become divisive in that way. If it's something, aspirational and inspirational, then that's a different conversation for me. And I'm open to how we work through this over the next couple of weeks leading up to our August meeting.
No, and I think it's like aerospace high or something like that, to your point. I mean,
yeah.
Or technology. And I'm not saying those, but to your point, I think those just, and again, that's off the top and based on what you just said, that is more exciting to me than East Lake. I mean, again, Clarence, to your point, this is not a huge issue, but you only get one chance to name it, and I just think naming it after a road is,
I tell you,
there's like PS1 or
There's some-
PS2 like they do in New York.
Mr. Wheeler, there's some really good points that are being made. First of all is, weighing just how important is it. I kind of like disagree on whether or not it has an impact on the student. I tell you, I think a lot of things do, and they're just hard to measure. But, a default name may not do anything, but a real good name can have an effect. And it can have an effect on the people that work there and the community. So that's why I personally find it important, and I will advocate for that for my community. Finding a name of a person is extremely difficult for a lot of the things that you pointed out, Mr. Weissire. But it is not impossible. It just requires, people to do the work, but you're right, though. You can have the equal effect, with an inspirational title for the school. For example, one of the, you think about Caltech. California Institute of Technology is pretty default. But when you talk about Caltech, what are we talking about? The highest excellence
Or MIT.
or MIT. We talk about the highest excellence in academics, in science, in research. So there is, and if that's where you're talking about, that's absolutely something that can go. You know what I mean? However, I think that the observations that Mr. Wheeler said is we shouldn't really be ready to default just yet. And so this is the beginning, the first conversation. Hopefully we've had some input, and we're going to have another school board meeting now that it's out there. Hopefully word spreads where people could come in and reach out to us. You still have your light on, though.
Just promise me you won't bring any recommendations of schools that exist in California. I'm kidding.
You can't call it Caltech. You can't call it Caltech.
The Osceola Technical Institute, Osceola Institute of Technology.
Well, we have,
If I may just remind the board that as you're making these determinations or thinking about these decisions, the name of the high school itself, especially because it is a high school, doesn't exist in isolation. The name and the mascot really need to have kind of like a tie together in order to help with that ring, with that branding, with that building of culture and pride. You're looking at me like I'm crazy.
No, I'm saying we should
telling you, I'm a
consider-
high school principal, and it
Pace.
does make a difference.
Dr. Pace, here's the thing. It seems to me that's one of those where, it's nice to have, but, are you really going to limit because, there's a lot of great schools. For example, Stanford University is one of the best universities in the world. I think anyone here can go ahead and just agree to that. Their mascot is a tree.
It wasn't always, it used to be the Indians.
And University of California, Santa Barbara has the banana slug. I mean, anything can work so long as it inspires. Anything can work so long as it inspires, so long as it motivates, it makes the community, excited.
Absolutely.
We shouldn't default because it has to match with a mascot as well.
I'm not trying to limit in any way. I would just encourage you to kind of think of things as a whole.
But Dr. Pace, separating them gives us even more opportunity for what we're trying to accomplish, in my opinion. So I just want the board to also see that side of, I also want the board to see that side as well as what Dr. Pace suggested. That's it.
I was disappointed sugar gliders were not on the list of mascots, by the way.
I think University of Ohio has a seed, if I'm not mistaken. Right, the Buckeye. And, we're not going to have something, I like FSUs. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, but, just the chant alone is worth it.
Second. Was that
We cannot have that.
We can't do that. We can't make that. All right, so anyways, that was Mr. Wheeler's business discussion. He's done, and board, is there any final thoughts or anything? Or just wait for round two?
Well, I did just notice that Stacy was interested in Florida State somehow making it into the...
Hey, it can happen. It can happen, as long as it inspires, right?
She's wearing UCF colors. She got black on.
All right. So anyways, moving on, new business, but I think that was new business, right? Is there anything else, board superintendent? No?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Comments? I started to pull one, I figured I could just ask it here. In the consent agenda, we approved 4 or 5 things for check signers. And I thought in the last meeting, we approved the ability for you just to approve those and not come to us.
Sarah's not here, but I know that I have signed some of those, so I think maybe this was just a carryover. Yes. Is that right, Tanya? Yeah,
Before, okay.
right.
So we should not see any more.
You will not see any more of those.
All right, so, board member comments and committee report, I think we had a lot of that. Moving on, we're gonna, okay, so we can't really convene this board meeting, we have to recess it and
Upstairs for executive.
and convene our executive session. Thanks, everyone that stuck around for all of this. Have a good evening.
You're welcome to stay for the adjournment in about an hour.
Yeah, the only thing, yeah, you're not missing anything. The only thing that's left is just an adjournment once we're done with.
Mr. Stacker's counting
All right,
cards.
so we stand recess.